so if we get into Unit 3, Lesson 5, we are going to learn something called variables. So your first one, ladies and gentlemen, literally is just a prediction. You can be right, you can be wrong, who knows? It is a prediction. It's kind of like in science when we do a hypothesis. So read the code and tell me, where do you think this circle is going to be drawn? Type in your prediction. Now, these are, somebody said that it was going to be at the top left. Somebody said it will move, so we put those in. Any other predictions as to what we think is going to happen when we run this program? So you just write whatever your prediction is in the box, and then we are going to go ahead and hit run. Okay, any other predictions? All right, cool. Okay, so I thought it was to be at the top left. Apparently, it's at the bottom left, and it didn't move. So, okay, cool. I mean, I guess I was wrong, but that's okay because it's a prediction. It doesn't matter if you're wrong. The idea is to think about it. All right, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and finish on this. So today we are going to be introduced to an idea called variables. So as always, as you're watching the video, things to think about: what are variables used to do? How do you create a variable and assign it a value? And what can go inside a variable? A minute, because my computer hates me because it's really slow.
Most apps keep track of pieces of information that change and update as you use the app. For example, a simple game can keep track of your score and the number of lives you have left as you play. Apps utilize the computer's memory to do this, and learning how to use that memory when programming is a really powerful skill. The most common way to leverage a computer's memory is by creating a variable. Now, a variable is just a container for storing a value, and once created, the variable is stored in the computer's memory, and it can be used and updated repeatedly throughout your program. As an example, let's use variables to keep track of the score and the number of lives remaining in a hypothetical game. Creating the variable is really easy. You use the word var followed by a label that you want to give the variable. You can choose any label you want, but it helps to choose a word that describes the variable that you want to store. So let's label our first variable score to keep track of the score. And then we can create a second variable to keep track of lives. Remember these labels. You'll need them later in order to use the variables. We can assign a value to the variable using the equal sign, like this. Let's set our starting score to 0 and our number of lives to 3. Remember, you only need to use the var at the time that you want to create a new variable. A common mistake is to use it every single time you want to refer to a variable. Also, be sure to avoid mixing up the order when you call your variables. The label's got to appear on the left, and the value has to appear on the right, like this, not like this. Often, you'll want to create a variable and assign it a value right away. There's a really convenient way to do this with one line of code. This is sometimes called initializing the variable. It's important to realize that this single line of code is actually doing two things. First, creating the variable, and then second, assigning it a value. Let's take a moment to talk about the equal sign. In many coding languages, the equal symbol is called the assignment operator because you use it to assign a value to a variable. And you're probably used to seeing it in math, but in programming, it's a little bit different. If you were in math class and you saw this, something would definitely be wrong. Score can't possibly equal both 5 and 7, but this is not math class. With code, a computer is executing a set of instructions, one after the other. So this would just tell the computer to set score to 5, and then on the next line, set it to 7. In an effort to avoid confusion, programmers often don't use the word equals when we see this sign. Instead, they use the phrase gets the value. So when we see a statement like this, we could read it as score gets the value 7, or score gets 7 for short. Some programming languages avoid the confusion entirely by representing the assignment statements with a sideways arrow, like this. To use a variable, you just refer to it by its label. Anywhere the variable name appears in the program, the value currently stored in the variable will be retrieved from memory. The tricky part is that when using a variable, you often can't see visually what its value is. To bypass that problem, you can use console.log to display the value like this. This is a really handy trick, but remember there's a difference between showing the value of a variable and writing out the variable's label. When text appears in quotes, you're telling the computer to write those literal ASCII characters on the screen like this. But on the other hand, without quotes, the computer assumes that you're referring to a variable called score, and it will attempt to retrieve its value. If you haven't made that variable, then the computer will give an error.
All right, so we are going to learn about variables today. What? I know, how exciting is that? All right, so if you're done with the video, go ahead and hit continue on. We will go on to the next bubble. All right, so this one again, in the corner, in which corner of the screen do you think it will be drawn? Var position gets 300. Var what they y, what's the y, equals 100, and then we have this. Where do we think this is going to get drawn? Where on the grid will my ellipse be drawn? Anybody?
Repeat that again, I'm sorry.
So looking at my code, you probably have the same code on your screen as well. Where is this ellipse? Where is this circle going to get drawn?
It's going to get drawn in the let's say bottom bottom left again.
So bottom left over here someplace?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe. Let's find out. It's actually in the upper right. That is really weird. Okay, let's try and figure out why. What we did is we created a variable called x position that we gave a value of 300. And then instead of writing 300 right here, instead we wrote the word x position. Remember, a variable just holds information. So this x position gets the value 300. So my ellipse is starting at x position 300. And the y position is going to be 100. So 300 in the x, 100 in the y. Boop, there it is. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Okay, so naming variables. Labels cannot have spaces. Labels cannot start with a number. Capitalization and spelling must be exactly the same. I want you to notice something. Remember how, like, when we did HTML and CS, when we did HTML, we got pink text if there was mistakes. In Word, in WebLab, you're gonna get these little either red or you'll get notations here, either yellow or red, next to the numbers of your lines of code. And if you see any kind of red or yellow in there, there's a problem. Okay? So that's kind of like your hint that there's some sort of like bug in the program. All right, so labels can't have spaces. Variable labels can't start with a number. Capitalization spelling must be exactly the same. Awesome. All right, so let's see what we have to actually do. Because this is what I'm trying to make, and if I hit run, like, the program just doesn't even run. I get an error message. Find the rule each variable label violates. Correct the errors. Okay, cool. So rule number 1, labels can't have spaces. All right, cool. So this first one, var, I have too many spaces here. So what I'm going to do on line 1 of my code, I am going to turn the spaces into underscores. Now, if you just want to delete them entirely, you are welcome to do that. All right. Labels can't start with a number. Okay, so var 1 dimension, I got to get rid of the 1. All right, capitalization and spelling must be exactly the same. Okay, so my variable labels are okay. I no longer have spaces. They're no longer starting with numbers. Awesome, so hopefully this will work. And it's not working. Can somebody tell me why it's not working? Look at my code and tell me why this is not working. Look at the names of my variables and look at what I'm trying to call up in the ellipse. Can anybody see the problem? Can anybody see the problem that I'm having with my code? Look at line 6 and look at lines 1, 2, and 3. What is the problem? Anybody at all? Okay, yeah, so somebody said spaces. Awesome. So I took out the spaces in the name, but I didn't take them out here. Remember, the spelling has to be the same. So I am going to come back and oops, that has to be an underscore. Okay. I run it. I'm still getting an error. Still not working. Somebody tell me what's going on.
There's a number at the start of dimension.
Okay, so I need to take that number just like I took it out before. I need to take it out here. Awesome. Let's try run it. Still getting an error message. Help me out. Oh, I didn't take the spaces out here. My bad. There is still a mistake in my code. Can somebody find the mistake in my code? Look at line 3 of my code. Look at line 6 of my code. See if you can find the mistake.
The Y is it because the Y is uppercase?
Yes, it is. Ladies and gentlemen, oops, did not mean to do that. Your spelling has to, and your punctuation has to be exact. I say this all the time. Computers are stupid. They only know what you tell them. Okay? So now, if I reset run, bam, there it is. And I know a lot of you right now are going, oh my God, but I want my blocks back. Once there's no errors in the code, hit show blocks. And there's your blocks that we know and love, okay? But we are not going to be able to show blocks if there are errors in the code. Just FYI. Okay, so that is bubble number 4.
Okay, I must have did something wrong.
Okay.
Okay, so I did all the steps and stuff, and it's still saying, oops,
Okay, no, that's fine. Are you getting yellows or are you getting reds?
reds.
What line?
For 6.
For line 6. Okay, so double check and make sure that you have all of your variable names match exactly from 1, 2, and 3. So size of circle is the last 2. Size of circle with the underscores.
Yeah.
Dimension without the 1 in that first position for the X. And a lowercase y for location. Does it work now?
Wait, let me see. No.
All right. No, you're fine. I'm gonna turn off my screen share. Share your screen with me.
Okay.
Just give me 1 second. I gotta turn screen share on.
'Cause I don't know if I'm doing anything. I don't know if I'm
No,
doing
no,
something wrong
no.
or.
You're fine. I won't know until I can see your code. You should be able to share your screen now.
Oh, I think I made something. I don't know.
Okay, var. Take the underscore out between var and size on line 1.
Line 1. Got you.
Hmm. Take that out and put a space. Now run your code.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. DIMENSION check. Nope. YLOACTION. Size. Huh. I'm like leaning in because I'm blind. All right. Dimension. That should work. YLOACATION. That should work. SIZEOFCIRCLE check. Size of circle. Hit reset. Hit run. Okay. Hit reset again. That's fine. I'm going to figure. Oh, at the end of the word circle up top in your line 1 of code. Yep. Get rid of that. Nope. Yep. Get rid of the underscore. There you go. Now run it.
That's what I was missing.
Perfect. All right. No, we got
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, you just got to be really careful with these things. That's all. All right. Let me go back to sharing my screen. All right. Hopefully, y'all can see my code now. Okay. So we're done with this one. Go ahead and hit finish and continue. Okay, so this program has only one variable called pedal size, but it is used 8 different times. This makes it easy to quickly make lots of changes to how your picture is drawn. Change the number assigned to pedal size so that the red pedals touch one another. Try to find the size that makes the most sense. Compare your answer to somebody else. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my instructions so we can actually see my code. And I'm going to run. Now, my pedals aren't touching. I mean, it's whatever. But I can see that I have created a var of pedal size equal to 50. Okay. And then I'm using it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. I can change this variable value, what it gets, 1 time, or I have to change 4 lines of code in 8 different sections. We're not doing all that. So let's try to make them touch. What should we up the number to? It's set at 50 now. What do you guys want to try? 75. Okay, so let's try 75. Reset and run. Oh, okay, look at that. It works. Ooh, 300. I bet if I did 300, it would just totally a big giant blob. Ooh, I guess if you like that kind of thing. So what you can see then is I can change 1 line in my code.
And it just changed it at all. Right?
And it changes everywhere where it says pedal size. Every single spot that says pedal size changes. This is the power of variables. It makes your code easier to change. You create one variable, you use that variable throughout the code, and then when you need to change them all, instead of having to go in and find every single line and change every single line, you change it 1 time in the quote little variable, value section. So again, like you put this up to 80. It doesn't matter what number you choose. I kind of like 80 myself. And it has that classic little, cartoony flower look. Shazam. There it is. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and hit finish on this. Oh, I'm sorry. I should actually ask, are there any issues or questions? And I do want to point out, look how it's using the gray for, so you kind of know what's doing what. The flower center, the petals, the setup. So it's sort of like, breaking up the code into different sections using comments. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, this is where you come in. You are going to be doing A, B, C, and D. Again, we're just going to be fixing some variables, changing some variables values, and fixing some bad code. So A, B, C, and D, you're going to be working out on your own. And then on 7, trying to get there. You are going to use variables to change the program to use the eye size, and you want to run the program with different values for eye size and basically choose your favorite size. Okay, so there's that. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, you have this time to work. Please go ahead and get to work. And as always, if you have issues or questions, please ask. Is this going to be graded into the card marking? Yes. My book doesn't close till Friday, so yes.